Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to this taste challenge. I have two American blended whiskeys, both 80 proof. And with no age statement. I forgot to put that for, let me update my notes here. Okay, let's fix this right here, edit this. All right, sorry about that. All right, so I have two. I've got Bellows, got a little bit left here. I bought this at International Market about 4 years ago. Bellows American Blended Whiskey, okay? Bellows introduced in 1830, true story, 1830. It's an 80-20 blend ratio, 4-to-1 parts. 4 parts grain neutral spirits, 1 part straight whiskey, okay? 4-to-1, 80-20. Which is allowed because the law allows up to 80% grain neutral spirits. Let me wipe this off the top here. Sorry about that. Isle of Fire, aka Stanley Wayne, Rolls says cheers. The wheat greatness says hello. Hello to both of you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all the viewers. Thanks to all the viewers for watching. So, under United States law, you can make a whiskey that's only 20% whiskey. Grain neutral spirits are potentially whiskey. Now, what would make them whiskey? If you aged it in oak, it would become whiskey. But grain neutral spirits are unaged. They have no age. They're simply distilled. They're clear, and they're brought down to 80 proof, but they're not aged. Although if you read the law, it says they have to be stored in oak vessels. So if they're stored for any period of time, then what, right, they're being aged, right? But technically, they're not aged. Isle of Fire, so I'm just having a Jim Beam Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. My friend David, he might be watching. He told me he was drinking some White Horse Scottish blended whiskey. Michael Stevens says, "Hey Ron, clinking the mugs. Thanks. Hey to you." So this was $8.99 for a liter. Yep, that's true. A true story. A liter. And I have a little bit left. We can do a few more taste challenges. Is that the natural color? I couldn't tell you. But I know this much. I can tell you that blended whiskey in the United States is allowed to have coloring and flavoring added. Coloring and flavoring added. So that could tell you probably all you need to know. Okay, but here's the odd competitor. Something that existed from no earlier, under the Jim Beam Company, no earlier than 1991 and no later than 2015. Okay, so Calvert Extra was introduced in 1963 by Joseph Seagram's Distilling Company, the old big Seagram's company, have a lot of brands still around. But less than 30 years later, it was sold to Beam. And then Beam sold it to Luxco, 2015. Yeah. 24 years later. So this one is 100% whiskey, though. It's blended. It's different whiskeys blended together, and it's bottled in Kentucky. This one was bottled in Claremont and Frankfort, Kentucky. Where do the whiskeys come from? We don't know. It just says, get this out of my eyes, blended with the finest whiskeys. Yeah, sure. That's why it was $8.99 for this bottle. $8.99 for this bottle. And if I'd have bought this in 1995, it probably would have been $8.99 for this bottle. Right? You know what I mean? Like it didn't exactly gain traction. But anyway, They still make a Calvert Extra, by the way, but it's a 70-30 blended whiskey now. It's 70% grain spirits now. Jean-Pierre bought one, a half-size bottle. He said he thought it was all right. You know, he liked it. 100% blended American whiskey. Uh, there's no commodity statement anywhere on this label. A commodity statement is what is required if you add grain spirits to the blend. Now you can add as much or as little as you like. You can add up to 80% grain spirits. You can add 1% grain spirits. Doesn't really matter. The government doesn't care. As long as you label it that you're doing it. As long as you put on the label that you're doing that. But they don't put that on the label here. So apparently, well, we know for sure they didn't do that. It's 100% whiskeys. Now, I didn't say it was 100% high quality whiskey. They're saying the finest whiskeys. I don't know how they got the finest whiskeys and it's $8.99, but you know how that works. You can't quantify finest, so it's not a legal statement. It's just a marketing term. More than likely, it's some of the worst whiskeys that Beam had on hand that they didn't dare put in any other bottles, so they blended them together and put them in this. And I bet you every batch you bought was probably different than the previous batch because it was probably different whiskeys that they blended together each time to make this thing. And Seagram's probably did the same thing from 1963 to 91 when they owned it. Whiskeys that didn't come out right, or whiskeys that were left over, or they needed to use for whatever reason, or that they bought cheap on auction. They blended them together, bottled it, and sold it, and claimed it was the finest whiskeys. And then they sold it for $8.99 a bottle. All right. Could have coloring added. Any blended whiskey, you can have coloring added. You can even add coloring to a blend of straight whiskeys. Funny thing, huh? You can't add coloring or flavoring to straight whiskey. No. But if you ever buy a bottle and it says a blend of straight whiskeys, then they can add coloring. Now, it sounds insane, right? But these laws are very, very peculiar. I've never seen a bottle that said that. I've literally never seen a bottle of whiskey at the store that said a blend of straight whiskeys. Wasn't exactly looking for that, but I haven't seen it. Now, I know what I just finished last week was what? Davies County 96 proof, right? And that was a blend of two straight bourbon whiskeys, high rye over here and wheated over there, blended, at least 4 years old each. But the bottle says straight bourbon whiskey, Kentucky Sour Mash Straight Bourbon. So by putting that on the bottle, then it would not be allowed to add color in it, okay? Then they couldn't add color in it. They just blend it together and call it a straight whiskey. The label doesn't say a blend up. Okay, you get it? So it's like real close, put together technical issues. Make sure I got my label right. Technical issues. These are both at least 4 years old. How do I know that? Because there's no label declaration of age. Okay, if you don't put an age statement, fine. You don't have to put an age statement on the liquor. The government doesn't require. Some people say that you got to put an age statement. No, you don't. Why do you think they got so many non-age stated whiskeys around? That's not the issue. If you choose not to put an age statement, fine. Don't put one. But that whiskey, the youngest whiskey in that blend had better not be younger than 4 years. Okay. So the youngest whiskey must be at least 4 years old. So with both of these products, the youngest whiskey in here is 4 years old. That's double the requirement for straight bourbon. So they are extra aged in a sense. Now, I bet you they're not a second longer than 4 years and a day old, but whatever. Okay, they're not minimum. I know one is a little darker than the other, so I'm not going to look, because if I see that darker one, I'm going to know it's Calvert Extra. You might have a bottle at your house that says Calvert, Lord Calvert. Okay, Lord Calvert. If you have that bottle at your house, that's a Canadian import. Okay, Lord Calvert is Canadian. Calvert Extra is American, always has been. Same company, but it's two variants of the name. But it's always been the same company. If you find the Calvert Extra with the cocktail glasses on it, full of ice, the photo, it's a kind of a nice looking label. Be careful, because that's not what I got here, and that's not that Calvert Extra regular. That's the Calvert Extra 70 proof. Not even a real whiskey. It's a whiskey product, a whiskey specialty spirit. I saw it and I didn't buy it. I was like, I ain't buying that. I don't want it to buy it because of the label, you know. Joe Cobb says, hey, Ron, playing an online game, but nice to catch up with your streaming. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Hey, this is better than an online game. This is for real. Okay. And by the way, they're both owned by Luxco today. They're both owned by Luxco, but the black label here was from the Jim Beam days. That's how old this bottle is. I found this 30-year-old bottle, or it's close to 30 years old. I think I see a 95 somewhere on here, 1995. It's probably for 95, but it's 28 years old. And I got it for $8.99 in the international market. The bottle is an antique. Olive Fire says, I think the little set 375 of Jim Beam that I got was way overpriced. It was $12.99. Oh yeah, you got ripped off. I paid $4.99 for my 375. Yeah, last year, $4.99, and I bought two of them. So that's what, $9.98 for a full size. Okay, on to the challenge now. It smells like sweet corn and oak and vanilla. It has the flavor, the aroma is generally associated with whiskey, okay, which is the law. It does, but I mean, this smells like just general whiskey. This does too, but it has a cherry note. I didn't know what that smell was until I did a few of these challenges. I'm getting into it. I'm starting to taste cherry wood. Do I really think they're using cherry wood in this cheap blend? No, I don't. It's possible. It is possible that they bought some, who knows what, cherry wood aged corn whiskey, straight corn whiskey, straight bourbon whiskey aged in cherry. Couldn't be aged in cherry though, because it wouldn't be a bourbon. Bourbon has to be aged in oak only. Yeah, so it could be corn whiskey or just whiskey. You can just call it whiskey. But I seriously doubt that. I mean, I seriously doubt they had cherry wood aged whiskey and they put it in this blend, but it's possible. I don't know. I see deals all the time that seem very extremely low. And I'm seeing these on the retail, so maybe they got it on the wholesale. But now remember, they can add flavoring, but I don't know why they would add flavor. They would not add cherry flavoring or aroma. Cherry flavoring to a whiskey. I don't see they would. They could do it. Don't have to list it either. It is a very interesting aroma. Now I'm not going to downplay that. It's very interesting. And I've never actually smelled that in any other whiskey. The only one that smelled kind of similar was the Berkshire Mountains corn whiskey, which was partially aged in cherry wood. I'm just saying, taste, just. It's so typical. Typical of what? Blended whiskey. You got sweet corn. No, it does not taste like Mexican corn. It tastes like American sweet corn. Go to the grocery store and buy corn on the cob, boil it, and get it tender and try it, and you're gonna see what I'm tasting. You get a little vanilla, a little charred oak. I mean, like a little bit. Um, does it have flavoring added? I really can't tell you. I'll never know that. They don't have to tell you, so it could be tweaked. Just like Crown Royal could be tweaked. Is or isn't? I don't know. The company isn't going to tell you. If you're a wholesaler and you write for a certificate of flavoring, I guess they would tell them. But like the Canadian government said, yeah, that is the law, but we don't have a record of anybody ever asking for that. Guess they didn't care. So it's very vanilla. Vanilla, sugary sweet. To me, whiskey tastes like sugar water, and this tastes like exceptionally sugary water. And it's vanilla and the little bit of oak and, like I said, corn. Could they have wheat whiskey in it? Oh, they could. Be very small amount, I'm sure. Could they have rye whiskey in it? Or barley malt whiskey? They could, but it'd be a very small percentage of the volume, I would think. I mean, let's face it, this thing is like almost 100% corn, because you know what? Corn is kind of cheap. And it's government subsidized, which I do not support, by the way. All right. This one. I'm telling you, Jim Beam products got a distinctive flavor. I don't care what anybody else. Jason Cleveland says, hello, Jay. Sorry about LSU's loss. Coach Kelly guaranteed a win. Huh? If he really did guarantee a win, he was very foolish. BC's beer reviews. BC's beer reviews. Tell you what, regardless of if it's a bottle or can, the man's going to be reviewing the beer just about now. Cheers, guys. Clinking the mugs. Cheers, Ron. Clinking the mugs. Same back to you, BC. Brian Kelly's a controversial figure, and after last night, I think the controversy may grow, but I'm not going to get all wrapped up in it. I watched the whole replay this morning. They went in halftime winning, came out, fell on their face. That's just the way it works. I don't get all wrapped up. I watch it. I follow it probably more than most people you've ever met. But to say I'll get worried about it, no. This tastes nothing like that. Okay? And I mean, they don't taste anything one like the other. I don't even know how to describe this. Let me try. It does have this strange Jim Beam-esque quirkiness, which I've used descriptions like cellar mold, greenwood to describe Jim Beam. Has a definite cherry taste. Don't ask me about that. Does it taste like any other American blended whiskey I ever tried? Absolutely not. It does not taste like any other American blended whiskey I've ever tried. When I tried this the other day, or a couple of weeks ago, really, cold, never had it before. I tried it at room temperature cold. I don't mean cold like in temperature, just like a cold sampling. I did not pick up the cherry thing, and I let my friend David try it. We didn't talk about that. But the more you get into it, the more you sample it, the more you taste it, then that starts to come out. And I cannot explain it. And like I said, I have a strong suspicion that every time you might have tried that product, if it was different batches, it would taste different. Because I think they were just using it to dump, or as you might call it, a cuvee, take different whiskeys that they don't want and blend them together and sell it for cheap. And would the people buying cheap care much? No, they probably wouldn't care much because they're buying it cheap. All right. That would probably be the theory. Now, I could be totally wrong now. You understand? I'm just theorizing. Who knows? Maybe it had a strict protocol where the ingredients had to be exactly followed at all times with no deviation whatsoever. And even with those exacting quality control protocols, it was still super cheap. But kind of makes you think that can't be true, right? But what do I know? But really, what do I know for bourbon and all of these blended whiskeys aside from tasting them? I really don't know much. I'm not part of the internal operation of these companies. I've seen videos where they alluded to it, like at Heaven Hill, their old brand representative who retired said if they said, well, what happens if the bourbon doesn't come out right? He said, oh yeah, that happens sometimes. He said, we don't dump it out, we blend it off. We make one of our cheap blended whiskeys with it. He laughed about it when he said it, kind of like he was embarrassed, you know. But I'm like, yeah, that's exactly probably the case. No use laughing, and there's no point in being embarrassed because the people that buy that stuff, Samuel, uh, T.W. Samuels, doggone Four Roses blended, if they still make that. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Ezra Brooks blended, uh, Kentucky, Heaven Hill, Kentucky blended whiskey. I'm sure the people buying that at the convenience store in Louisiana for $5.99 a bottle ain't too worried about the protocols or the quality control. They're probably worried about the next. Well, all right. Anyway, now, have I tried Jim Beam Jacobs Ghost White Whiskey? No, I haven't. In fact, I've never tried anybody's white whiskey. I tasted some pure 190 proof pre-aged whiskey at Blanton 1792 Distillery. Almost brought me down to one knee. That was some strong stuff. It was strong AF. You say strong AF. What does that stand for? Well, it means strong is fabulous. Strong is fabulous. I just discovered its very existence today. Oh man, look, they got some strange products on the market, y'all, and a lot of these are not listed on the website. So you could drive yourself crazy trying to look it up on the company's website, and you will not see it. But it's out there because you got it in your hand. You bought it at the store. All right. I got Jim Beam Strawberry. I know it exists. It's in my fridge. I got it. But there's no point to what I just said because it actually is on the website. So never mind that. Okay. That's not a good example. I got to think of something that they don't put on the website. Oh, like the Seagram 7 Crown Salted Caramel. I know where to find it, but it's not on the website. Could be discontinued though. All right. I mean, yeah. Bellows Blended American Whiskey. Oh, I'm sorry, American Blended Whiskey. Yeah, it's nice in a sense. Is it exciting? I don't think so. Is it exceptional? Yeah, right. That's why it was $8.99 for a liter because it's exceptional. But on the other hand, is it horribly bad? Is it rot gut, trash, garbage, bum juice, illegitimate filth? No, certainly it isn't even close to that. I mean, it's an all right product. I don't think too many people are sipping it neat at room temperature, but maybe I'm wrong. But it's okay. Would I buy it again for $8.99? Yes, I'd probably buy it again. Would I buy it for $12.99? For a liter, probably. For $7.50, never. Never. But I mean, I would buy it again in theory. In practicality, I probably never see it. Well, I never see it in Louisiana. And secondly, I have too many other brands I want to buy. So I mean, in reality, I would not buy it again. But yeah, it's all right. It's okay. And I think I got it right. I hope I do. Let's reveal now. Yeah. These things are too different. You cannot confuse them. So Bellows American Blended Whiskey on the market in some form or another since 1830. Recommended, yes. But with recommended with reservations. You know what I'm saying? It's not an open recommendation. It's a recommendation if you can look at things within a certain context. I'm not sitting there playing like, I'm not sitting there like, oh yeah, this is Johnny Walker Blue Label. Actually, I'd rather buy this than Johnny Walker Blue Label because this was cheap and Johnny Walker Blue Label was sky high expensive and it didn't live up to its billing at all. So I'm a lot happier buying this. They're both blended whiskeys. Am I right? Yes, I'm right. I can't pin down the flavor, but it's something about it. It's like I know that there's charred oak. There's something charred coming through. Char. I'm thinking to use a real deep char on some of the whiskeys. Remember, this is a blend of whiskeys, but I think some of these got the alligator char. You know, the real thick charcoal. Woo, that might turn you off. You know, if you don't like that heavy char, you might say, oh. But if you like that kind of stuff, yeah, you might like it. It's got that strange cherry note, like cherry wood, and all kind of other things. Well, that's why it's got all kind of other things. Because I'm telling you, this is a blend of whiskeys, and I'm telling you, it might be. Who knows? It could be 50. I'm not kidding. It could literally be 50 different whiskeys from Jim Beam and other companies that they auction for. I'm not being frivolous or silly about it. Now to think that it's the finest whiskeys, I'm not a fool. I don't believe that. They put it on the label, but that's just marketing, you know. Made blended with the finest whiskeys. Yeah, really? I mean, it tastes pretty good. It actually tastes quite good. So it's not blended with the worst whiskeys. Definitely not the worst. But the finest extra special. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to read this in the background. An extra special blend. This is an extra special blend. It does taste extra special, though, all kidding aside. It does taste extra special, extra odd, extra ordinary. But anyway, I'm glad I bought them because I paid 17.98 for 2 bottles. 17.98. I got a full liter and a 750. So I basically bought a handle, right? 1,007. I did buy a handle. 1,750 milliliters of two products that are definitely not exactly popular in the United States, but they do exist by virtue of me having them in my hands, as evidenced by that. Yeah, so the definitely the Calvert Extra is extra better. It makes no sense. Extra good. Maybe, maybe, maybe I would buy the Calvert Extra with the cocktail glasses and the photograph on the label. That's only 70 proof, not a true whiskey by any legal stretch. But they don't claim it's a true whiskey. They claim it's a distilled spirit specialty. Maybe I would buy that, but it would have to be super, super cheap. I'm not paying regular prices for something like that. No way. Ain't going to happen. Chances are I won't run across it again. Let's hope I don't run across it again. I don't really need to buy it. But I did say I might buy it. What I already said I would buy the Bellows again, depending. Would I buy the Calvert Extra again? I would buy it again, but I would prefer to find the new one. I would rather find the new Calvert Extra, the 70-30 blend. But considering I've never seen it in Louisiana, I probably won't buy it. I mean, if I was on a road trip, yeah, I guess I'd buy it. So if you're looking to spend a low amount, but you're getting a flavor that's not so bad. I didn't put it up here. I'm not putting my hand at the top of the screen. I'm putting it in the middle of the screen. You know, it's like The price is low, but the taste is okay. It's not too bad. Then you could go with these two, yeah. But the winner is definitely Calvert Extra, the 1991 to 2015 edition, at least. And makes sense. It was made by Jim Beam. I never tasted anything they made that was bad. No way, not even close. If they make a bad product, I'd like to know what it is. Let me know. I'd be curious to find out. Because I had the Beam's Choice, no longer produced. Jim Beam Choice, gone since 2017. Too bad. That was nice. But they wanted to cut corners, cut out expensive production. So, okay, y'all want to be cheap? Jim Beam, I like it. Don't love it, but I like it. The Jim Beam Prohibition Edition, the Prohibition Repeal, I got enough left for maybe one more taste challenge. Wonderful product. All the other Jim Beam specialties, the 8-year age, now known as Jim Beam Extra Age. Oh yeah, really good, really good. Well, I had the 8-year. I don't know about the Jim Beam Extra, the black, Jim Beam Black. The new one, the current one, I'm sure it's very nice. I'm sure it's very nice. I'm sure of that because I know the company is, mucho gusto quality. Okay, so let's go with the comments and we out of here. Just discovered its very existence today. Oh yeah, so yeah, Jim Beam Jacob's Ghost. I think I heard of that. Like I was saying earlier, I never had it. I think I heard of it, but I mean, the chances of me buying it are pretty much. Yeah, I'm not going to buy it. I got too many other things to buy. All right, well now it's time to go watch Clemson and Duke, an Southern East Coast college football showdown. You would assume Duke will get killed, but you never know. Thanks, everybody. See y'all tomorrow morning at dawn.